What if the dollar's days as the world's reserve currency are actually numbered? Not in theory, not in some distant future, but right now in 2026, with a coordinated plan already on the table. Today, we are breaking down what just happened at the BRICS summit and why it could be the most important story in crypto nobody is talking about. Let's start with the basics. BRICS started as 5 nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The idea was simple: create a bloc of major emerging economies that could operate independently of Western financial systems. But in 2024 and 2025, it expanded dramatically. Iran, the UAE, Indonesia, Egypt, and Ethiopia joined. Now you have 10 nations representing over 45% of the world's population, massive oil reserves, trillions of dollars in annual trade, and a shared motivation to reduce their dependence on the US dollar. For years, this was mostly talk, local currency experiments here and there, a few bilateral deals between Russia and China settling in yuan instead of dollars. Interesting, but not structural. That changed in January 2026. India's central bank, the Reserve Bank of India, put a formal proposal on the table. Link the central bank digital currencies of all BRICS nations together into a unified payment bridge. Digital rupee, digital yuan, digital ruble, all connected for cross-border trade and tourism payments. India is hosting the 2026 BRICS Summit later this year. This proposal is officially on the agenda. Think about what that actually means. Right now, if Iran wants to buy goods from India or Russia wants to trade with Brazil, those transactions still get routed through SWIFT, the global messaging system that powers international banking. SWIFT is effectively controlled by Western institutions. It is how sanctions work. You get cut off from SWIFT and you are economically isolated from the global system. A BRICS CBDC bridge bypasses that entirely. Direct digital settlements between nations in their own currencies. No dollar required, no SWIFT, no exposure to US sanctions. This is not a fringe idea anymore. It is on the official summit agenda of a bloc representing half the world's population. To understand why this matters, you need to understand the petrodollar. In 1974, the United States made a deal with Saudi Arabia to price all oil sales in US dollars. In exchange, America provided military protection across the Gulf region. The effect was enormous. Every country on Earth that needed oil had to first acquire US dollars to buy it. That created permanent global demand for dollars, regardless of what the US economy was doing. It is a foundational reason why the dollar became and stayed the world's reserve currency for 50 years. That system is now under real pressure for the first time. Saudi Arabia has started accepting Chinese yuan for oil payments. Russia has been trading energy in rubles and other currencies since sanctions were imposed. The BRICS bloc has been openly discussing alternatives to dollar-denominated trade for years. And now, with a formal digital currency bridge on the table, the conversation shifts from theory to infrastructure. If oil and major commodities start trading outside the dollar system, the artificial global demand for dollars weakens. That has real consequences for dollar strength, US inflation, and interest rates. Here is where it gets interesting for crypto specifically. While governments are building their CBDC systems, those systems have a fundamental limitation. They are programmable and controlled. A digital yuan is still a yuan. A digital rupee is still a rupee. They are faster and cheaper to move, but they are still government-controlled money that can be tracked, frozen, or manipulated. Bitcoin is none of those things. Bitcoin has no nationality. No government controls it. It cannot be sanctioned. It cannot be frozen. It does not care about borders or political alliances. In a world where financial systems are fragmenting into competing blocks, neutral money becomes increasingly valuable. We have already seen this play out in practice. Countries under heavy sanctions have turned to crypto for real-world trade, not as speculation, as functional infrastructure for moving value when traditional systems are closed to them. As the world fragments into financial blocks, each with their own digital currency system, Bitcoin sits outside all of them. That is not a bug. That is its most powerful feature in a multipolar world. Central banks have been buying gold at the fastest pace in 50 years. The reasoning is the same. Gold is neutral, nobody's liability, outside the system. Bitcoin is increasingly being discussed in the same terms by serious institutional investors and a growing number of sovereign wealth funds. So where does this go from here? The 2026 BRICS Summit in India is the event to watch. If the CBDC bridge proposal gets formally adopted, it represents the most significant structural move away from dollar dominance we have ever seen. Markets are already pricing in some of this uncertainty. Gold has been strong. Bitcoin has been holding up better than expected during geopolitical stress compared to previous cycles. The narrative around Bitcoin as a reserve asset, outside any single government's control, is gaining serious traction in institutional circles. The honest answer is nobody knows exactly how this plays out. The dollar has enormous structural advantages that do not disappear overnight. BRICS nations have their own internal disagreements and rivalries. Building a unified financial system across 10 countries with very different interests is genuinely complicated. But the direction of travel is clear. The post-World War II financial order, where the dollar sits at the center of everything, is being challenged in a more coordinated and serious way than at any point in the past 50 years. And assets that exist outside that order, gold and Bitcoin specifically, benefit from that uncertainty, regardless of which side wins. The BRICS story is one of the most important and underreported stories in global finance right now. And it connects directly to crypto in ways most channels are not explaining clearly. If you want to stay ahead of it, subscribe to Crypto Clarity. We break down exactly what is happening in the world economy and what it means for crypto every single week. No hype, just clarity. See you in the next one.